Vikram had one goal: buy a robotic assistant. Life was too busy, and a smart AI helper would make things easier. So, he placed an order with a company that promised next-level assistance with humanoid designs. When the package arrived, it was huge, larger than expected. He unboxed it, expecting metal and circuits. Instead, he found her, a tall, silver-skinned alien girl with luminous violet eyes blinked up at him. She had soft, silky white hair and wore a sleek bodysuit. Her pointed ears twitched as she scanned him with curiosity. "Hello, mate," she purred, her voice smooth as silk. Vikram froze. "Mate? No, I ordered an assistant, not a..." She tilted her head. "I am your assistant. But also, I am here to bond. Your request has been processed." His heart pounded. Processed by who? She smiled, stepping closer. By the interstellar matchmaking service, of course. Vikram scrambled to contact customer support, but every attempt failed. The order number didn't exist. The company's website? Gone. It was like it had never been there. Meanwhile, the alien girl, who introduced herself as Ziara, made herself at home. She examined his belongings, sniffed his clothes, and even tasted his food. "You live so simply," she mused, touching his worn couch. "Yeah, because I don't have an alien wife." She pouted. "You do now." Vikram groaned. "Look, I don't know what kind of misunderstanding happened, but I am not looking for a mate." Ziara's tail flicked. When did he notice she had one? "That's unfortunate," she murmured, "because I have already chosen you." Something in her gaze sent a strange shiver through him. It wasn't just attraction, it was possessive. Like, she had no plans to leave. He tried reasoning with her. "Humans don't work like that. We don't just claim someone as a mate out of nowhere." Ziara gave him a patient smile, like he was the one not understanding. "But that's exactly what we do. Once we find a compatible bond, we don't waste time. It is the most efficient method of selection." Efficient? This isn't a business transaction. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing softly. "No, it is something much more important." Vikram took a step back, running a hand through his hair. He needed a solution. Maybe she was just confused. Maybe she could be convinced to leave. "Fine," he said, crossing his arms. "If you're my assistant, then assist me. Help me figure out how to send you back." Ziara stared at him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she nodded. "Very well," she said smoothly. "I will assist you in this task." For the first time, Vikram felt relieved. Maybe she wasn't as stubborn as he thought. Then she gave him a knowing look. "Of course," she added, "I will also assist you in realizing that you belong to me." Days passed. Vikram tried everything, calling authorities, searching for any trace of the mysterious company, even checking interstellar law forums. Nothing helped. It was as if Ziara had arrived from thin air, with no way to return her. Meanwhile, she settled into his life as if she had always belonged there. She optimized his kitchen with strange but efficient alien tech, adjusted his home's temperature to match her species' comfort level, which, thankfully, wasn't too different from his, and even started organizing his schedule with frightening accuracy. Every time he tried to tell her to leave, she just smiled. "A mate does not abandon her chosen one," she said with confidence. Vikram scowled. "I didn't choose you." Ziara merely tilted her head. "You think choice is required? We are bonded at a genetic level. Your body already knows it." He scoffed. "My body disagrees." Her silver lips curled into a knowing smirk. "Does it?" Vikram swallowed hard. She had a way of looking at him that made his pulse spike. He refused to acknowledge that she might be right. One evening, he found her studying him with an unnerving level of focus. "What now?" he muttered, rubbing his temples. "You resist," she said. "Why?" "Because humans don't just mate with someone they just met," he snapped. Ziara leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. "Then teach me." He blinked. "What?" "If your way is different, then I wish to learn it," she said simply. "Teach me how humans bond. If, after that, you still do not accept me, I will reconsider." Vikram hesitated. This was progress, right? If he could prove to her that humans require time, dates, emotions, choice, maybe she would let this whole mate thing go. Fine, he sighed. I'll show you how humans form relationships. But you have to promise you won't pull that "we're already bonded" thing anymore. Ziara smiled. Very well. I promise. But the way she looked at him made him uneasy, like she already knew how this would end. Vikram held firm. At least he tried to. He took Ziara on what he called human-style bonding experiences. First, a simple coffee shop visit. She sniffed the drink suspiciously, then downed it in one gulp. Interesting. Bitter. Is this part of the ritual? Sort of, Vikram said, sipping his own. Humans get to know each other like this. We talk. Ziara's glowing eyes locked onto his. I already know you. He sighed. No, you learn about each other over time. So he told her about his job, his hobbies, his childhood. She listened intently, occasionally tilting her head like she was filing away data. When he was done, he asked, "What about you?" She smiled. I was born for efficiency, trained for perfection, and sent to find my mate. Vikram pinched the bridge of his nose. Right. Of course. Next, he tried to walk through the city. Ziara was fascinated by human behavior, her silver fingers brushing over shop windows and streetlights. When a couple passed by holding hands, she observed them closely before grabbing his hand in the same way. He pulled back. That's not how this works. Her expression was unreadable. You like to complicate simple things. After a few more bonding activities, Vikram thought he was making progress. She wasn't calling him her mate as often, and she seemed genuinely interested in human customs. Maybe, just maybe, he could convince her to see things his way. Then one evening, everything changed. A thunderstorm rolled in, knocking out the power. Candlelight flickered as Vikram sat on the couch, watching the rain batter against the window. Ziara sat beside him, uncharacteristically quiet. In my world, she murmured, mates share warmth on cold nights. Vikram chuckled. That's just an excuse to cuddle. She turned her head, her violet eyes reflecting the candlelight. Is that bad? His breath hitched. He knew he should say yes, that this was another trap. But something about the moment, the quiet, the warmth, the way she was looking at him, made his defenses falter. Ziara, She leaned in and kissed him. Soft, curious, lingering. Vikram stiffened. His brain screamed wrong, but his heart whispered right. She wasn't forcing, wasn't demanding, just there, waiting for his response. And for the first time, he didn't pull away. The next morning, everything changed. Vikram woke to the smell of something unfamiliar, sharp, metallic, almost electric. His senses sharpened as he sat up, his mind still groggy from the previous night. The storm had passed, but something felt off. Then he heard Ziara's voice, low and tense. They've found me. He rushed to the window. A sleek, obsidian-colored ship hovered just beyond the treeline. Strange figures, tall, armored, and undeniably alien, were moving toward his home. Vikram's stomach dropped. Who are they? Ziara turned, her expression unreadable. My people. They have come to take me back. His chest tightened. Back. But I thought. She clenched her fists. I broke protocol. I should not have chosen a mate without permission. He barely had time to process that before a deep, reverberating voice filled the air. Ziara of the Prime Nexus, you will surrender at once. Your unauthorized bonding has been deemed invalid. Vikram's pulse pounded. Bonding? Ziara's jaw tightened. They do not believe humans are worthy of our kind. A figure stepped forward, taller than the rest, his silver skin gleaming under the daylight. Release the human, and your punishment will be minimal. Ziara's tail lashed behind her. No. The warrior's glowing eyes narrowed. Then you leave us no choice. In an instant, they attacked. Vikram barely had time to react before Ziara launched herself forward with terrifying speed. She struck first, her movements a blur of precision. A single kick sent one of the invaders crashing into a tree. Another lunged at her, but she twisted midair, dodging effortlessly before slamming her elbow into his chest. But there were too many of them. Vikram knew he was useless in a fight like this. These weren't just humans with weapons. They were faster, stronger, and vastly more experienced. But that didn't matter. He couldn't just stand there while she fought alone. He grabbed the nearest thing that resembled a weapon, his old metal baseball bat, and charged. The leader turned just in time to see Vikram swing with everything he had. The bat connected with the alien's side, sending a shockwave of pain through Vikram's arms. The alien barely flinched. Vikram's stomach clenched. That was a bad idea. The warrior grabbed him by the collar and lifted him effortlessly. Pathetic. You are unfit to be a mate to one of our kind. Then, before Vikram could react, the warrior hurled him backward. The world spun as he crashed onto the ground, pain radiating through his back. Ziara's snarl cut through the air. You dare touch him? Before the warrior could react, she was there, moving faster than lightning. Her fist connected with his face, sending him flying back with a deafening crack. Everything stopped. The other warriors hesitated, glancing at their fallen leader. Ziara stood between them and Vikram, her breathing heavy, her violet eyes burning with something dangerous. I will not leave, she growled. And if you try to take him from me, I will destroy you. Vikram, still dazed, stared at her. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for him. For them. And in that moment, something clicked inside him. He had spent all this time resisting, telling himself she wasn't his mate, that this wasn't real. But she had chosen him. And now he realized he was choosing her too. Summoning every ounce of strength, Vikram pushed himself up and stepped beside her. If you want her, he growled, you have to go through me. Ziara turned to him, her eyes widening slightly. And then something incredible happened. The leader, still recovering, studied Vikram for a long moment. Then he exhaled sharply. In our culture, he said, no mate fights so fiercely for another unless the bond is real. A long silence followed. Then, with a reluctant nod, he gestured to his warriors. Stand down. The warriors retreated, their leader watching Vikram with something almost like respect. Ziara stood tense, ready to fight again, but when they didn't attack, she slowly relaxed. So, that's it? Vikram asked, still catching his breath. The leader's expression darkened. For now. But know this. Our people do not accept humans as mates. The council will not approve of this union. Ziara's tail flicked. I do not care for their approval. The leader exhaled sharply. I expected as much. You were always difficult. He cast one last glance at Vikram. You must be stronger than you appear, if she has truly chosen you. Do not take this bond lightly, human. It is not something that can be undone. Vikram swallowed. Not something that can be undone. Then, without another word, the warriors vanished into the ship. Moments later, the sleek vessel lifted off the ground and disappeared into the sky. Silence settled between them. The only sound was the distant rumble of thunder fading into the horizon. Vikram turned to Ziara, his mind still spinning. You really weren't kidding about this mate thing, huh? She smirked, stepping closer. No. I was not. He let out a shaky laugh, running a hand through his hair. So, what happens now? Ziara tilted her head, her violet eyes searching his face. That depends. Are you still resisting? Vikram hesitated. 4 days. He had fought against this, convinced that she had been wrong, that they weren't meant to be. But now, after everything, she had chosen him, protected him, fought for him, and deep down he realized he wanted her to stay. No, he murmured. I'm not resisting anymore. Ziara's lips parted slightly, surprise flashing in her eyes before something softer replaced it. She reached up, brushing her fingers along his cheek, tracing the bruise forming there. You are mine, she whispered, the words carrying both a promise and a challenge. Vikram smirked. And you're mine. For the first time, she actually looked startled. Then, with a slow, please smile, she leaned in and kissed him. This time, Vikram didn't hesitate. He pulled her closer, deepening the kiss, letting go of every doubt. He didn't know what the future held. Maybe her people would come back. Maybe the universe would throw more obstacles their way. But in this moment, none of that mattered. Because no matter what happened, she wasn't leaving.
And neither was he.